Corey Furnival is the founder of the Healing Beyond Diagnosis initiative. After experiencing a brain injury and discovering that recovery involved far more than physical healing, we get that around here, he set out to address what he saw as one of healthcare's biggest blind spots. What happens after treatment ends? Through the Healing Beyond Diagnosis initiative and Beyond Diagnosis theory, Corey focuses on identity, grief, purpose, connection, resilience, and the emotional recovery that so often goes unaddressed. Welcome to Rupture, Corey.
Thank you very much. It's great to be here today.
Happy to have you. So let's start before the rupture. Who was Corey before the rupture?
I was an athlete. I was just out of college, looking forward to get into my career. Just an ordinary kind of 22-year-old guy kind of thing, having fun with some friends.
What sport were you playing, by the way?
I was in baseball, and so I had some setbacks in baseball, but before then, I was just athletic. I'd test out everything, but baseball was mostly my sport.
Okay, so you're 22. You've got your whole life ahead of you. What career were you planning on?
I was planning on going into social worker. So I finished my college with social service worker and 2 years of drug and alcohol counseling. So I was going to go into like the human services type of field, kind of what I'm expanding into now, just a couple of years late.
Right. So we'll totally get to that. Okay, that's super helpful. All right, now tell us about the rupture. What happened?
It was late at night. Me and a couple of buddies decided probably around midnight we were going to go ghost hunting.
I'm sorry, you were going to go what hunting?
We were going to go ghost hunting. There's a haunted hill kind of out from where I'm from, and we thought, hey, we'd go see if we could find anything. And it was quite a drive. It's along a lot of forest highways, and we came down a hill, and we could see something standing in the road. And the driver's like, "What's that?" And I just said, "Oh, that's a moose." And next thing I know, I wake up in the hospital.
So you don't remember anything between seeing the moose and waking up in the hospital?
No, nothing. From what I was told, obviously we hit the moose. The moose rolled over the car, almost turning his car into a convertible. I got hit in the back of the head from the hoof is what they figured happened to me. The hoof,
really?
Yeah, is what the doctors and all that said most likely happened to me. And then apparently I was conscious from what I'm told. I was out walking around. I was talking. I called 911. Don't remember any of it. So it was pretty scary that I have a good couple of hours of my life that I can't remember it. And maybe it's a good thing. Maybe it's a good thing it's missing, that I don't want to remember it. But it's still a scary thought that I just don't remember.
Sure. Well, it is scary. It's scary enough to go through it. I think that adds another layer of anxiety to not be able to remember it.
It does, yeah. Yeah, and honestly, I don't know if I want to remember or not.
Yeah.
It's been so long ago.
But do you get PTSD when you're driving? If you were like on a hill?
When I'm night driving? Normally when I'm night driving, if I see like a reflection off the side of the road, I'll instinctively brake, start slowing down, because I, again, live in an area where deer crossings are very frequent. Not so much to where I am now, but every time I still see like that glow of an eye sort of thing in the distance, it makes me more cautious sort of thing. Whereas before, it wouldn't have bothered.
So what kind of symptoms were you left with from this? First of all, it was a concussion, right?
Yes, yeah.
Right, okay.
It was a concussion, yeah.
Yeah. What gifts did the concussion give you?
It gave me some memory loss, obviously, that I don't remember what happened. I'm sensitive to light. Certain types of lighting now gives me a headache. I get frequent migraines, headaches because of it. Loud noises, sometimes large crowds is overwhelming to me. That I'll get that feeling like I don't know what's wrong, if I need to leave, because I'm oversensitized right now. So there's a lot of sensory kind of issues with things.
Yeah, I get it. I have the sensory ones too. And that that feeling of being overwhelmed, but not being able to describe what it feels like. I mean, I know with me, I feel it physically. I just need to remove myself from the situation.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
yeah,
that's kind of
easily.
how it is. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. That's an awkward one socially, I find. It's like when
it
you just have
is.
to,
Yeah.
like, walk away.
Hmm.
Okay, so that happened to you when you were 22, right? Okay. So one of the things that we talk about, in this project is that when you've gone through a rupture, and obviously a lot of the ruptures we're talking about are TBIs, but we do talk about other ruptures too. It's anything that divides your life to before and after, right? And becomes watershed, so it changes everything that comes after. The idea is that rupture reveals systems failures, right? Rupture reveals that the
Exactly.
system you think will be there for you are not. The one that did it first for me was, I know you're in Canada, so different systems. But for me, the first one that was an obvious failure was the disability system. But as I've talked to lots of other people who go through these kinds of things, lots of other systems failures are revealed.
Yeah, yeah. There's
What
lots.
what about you? What did you
Well,
well, first of all, look, before I ask you what failed, was there a system that succeeded?
I would say the healthcare system is great. Obviously, up in Canada, we have the benefit of free healthcare within limits, so that's a huge plus. And they know what they're doing. They could treat your physical symptoms and rehab, going through physio and everything else, just to kind of. They were trying to limit my increased sensory, I guess is the way I could say it, through some physio, some light stimulation, kind of things like that. So they they treat the physical symptoms great. Where they fail is once the physical things are all taken care of, the mental and the mind and the grief is overlooked. And that's where that hole is here.
That's the gap.
That's the
That's the
gap.
gap. Okay. Interesting. We had a conversation with someone the other day. Accident happened in the UK.
Okay.
National Health was great at providing him like a month long. His injury was very severe. A month long hospitalization, but no rehab. There was absolutely no rehab. But in your system, you got the initial health care, sort of that, and the rehab.
Yeah. Yeah. It was a referral. Like I had the option to either do it or not, which was nice. So in that aspect, it succeeded. Like it prepared me up to that point. But with my last, like I just recently had neck surgery, it failed because I had to go out and I had to ask for physio. I had to go and find it myself. So it failed on this aspect, but
Going back
with
to the
the,
head injury. So what
yeah,
failed
going
you on?
back,
Yeah, because you got the rehab for that. So that
yeah,
was the system that
I,
worked.
I would say going back, it was definitely the mentality, the mental health.
Mhm.
Like there's a lot of grief, a lot of anger. There were some things I couldn't do what I loved to do. And it was just that moment where if I had something that could have prepared me for things I could have lost or how I would have adjusted would have been greatly beneficial.
So there wasn't access to, or no, like the system didn't provide you with mental health resources,
No,
or
there
didn't
was
even think that they were needed, or was it that they didn't even?
it was both. It wasn't provided. It wasn't mentioned. It wasn't anything. It was just, okay, well, okay, if there's anything else, just let us know kind of thing. And by then it's like, as you know, somebody who had a concussion and everything else, but I don't want to do the work. I want somebody to kind of help me and guide me so I don't have to
Right.
put more stress on my body.
Mhm. Sure.
And that's where it failed.
So so all of this impacted, right? So this was watershed, right? So what did you decide to do with your career once you'd been through rehab and you got the physical work, you got the medical stuff done, you got the rehab done. There's this gap in behavioral in mental health. What you're 22, right? So you still had your career to build. So what happened? What did you build from that?
I actually stopped. I stopped pursuing the health field, the human services field altogether, and I just ventured off. I did other employment like kitchen work and other small jobs here and there, but I did battle a little bit with alcohol because I was mentally kind of still broken. I was sad. I was like I didn't quite understand anything. So I fell into a kind of deep hole during the period of time. And but I recently started working with an organization that deals with people with TBIs and ABIs, and it's still the same issue from 20 years ago. So that's why I brought this initiative on. It actually wasn't supposed to be an initiative. It was just going to be my own little coaching practice, but it grew into, because the more people I talk to, and like you on Reddit, all say the same thing. Like, it's not just a Canadian issue. It seems to be this worldwide gap, and there's not enough recognition for it out there.
So talk about the initiative. Talk about the work that you do.
Okay, so the work that I'm trying to do is I'm trying to bring a voice to for people with ADIs, TBIs, other disabilities, things like that, to actually bridge the gap from the moment of the rupture till they feel that they continue their story.
Mhm. So
So it's
so you're trying to fill the mental health gap that you
cor-
experienced?
correct. Yeah, it's like the invisible grief is mostly where I'm focusing on.
Mhm.
Because for me, that was hard. That's where I was down and hard, and I couldn't figure out why. I didn't know why I was angry. I didn't know why I was sad. I didn't know why I was frustrated. And then doing the work that I do, it took me as an outsider looking in to realize this guy could benefit from grief work. And that's when it all kind of clicked in. Like, no, that part is still missing. Like, they could go to counseling, but it doesn't focus on the grief aspect of
Okay. So that's interesting. So specific to grief is not what they're focusing on. Also, are they focusing on the sort of mental health aspects of what happens after a TBI? Because we know, I mean, those of us who have them know that emotional dysregulation comes with it, right? Mood
it. Oh yeah.
dysregulation comes with it.
Yeah.
And it's kind of specific to us in the TBI world. I don't know. I mean, frankly, I was in therapy. I was already seeing a therapist before mine, and I continued seeing her, and it wasn't getting. And I think it's because of what you were talking about. But it wasn't getting me anywhere. It wasn't
Exactly.
helping me deal with. We didn't even recognize the idea of loss at the time.
And I think that's the big thing because, again, it's the individual themselves that has to identify with it. Whereas it's not somebody walking up to them and be like, how are you feeling? Like, how are you doing? What's on your mind? Those sort of questions aren't asked. And they might ask like, hey, how are you today? But it's not the same to how are you feeling? And it's two totally different aspects where,
So talk about. I mean, because I went through your stuff. I did one of your assessments.
yes,
Could you
I'm very
walk through like the
thankful for that.
methodology of what you built of your initiative?
So my methodology was I basically took everybody's info that I got through a couple months of how things they wished happened and everything else, where they felt systems lacked, where they think they needed help the most. And I basically looked at it as, okay, what's step one? So the rupture happened. So what's the first thing that happens is usually the loss of identity. You
Mhm.
lost yourself. You lose who you were. You lose what you could do. You lost stuff like that. So that's step one. And so I'm building it to, okay, so are you envious? Are you sad? Are you mad that, you lost that identity? And then we move on to the second step, which is the grief of, okay, now I'm grieving who I was, what I used to do, what things that used to bother me. And it's a stressful thing. It's not only just on the individual, it's stressful on the families, it's stressful for like everyone involved, not just the person, but the whole
That's
system.
a that's a huge point that we should pause at because I you and I know from just the Reddit community, like, how isolating a thing this is, right? And
It
part of the
is.
reason it's isolating is because it's unrelatable. People who haven't if you haven't had one, you don't get this. You just can't, no matter how hard you try. And that's why all of us ended up
Exactly.
on Reddit, right? Because we were looking for people like us that we could talk to. And I think this is a huge piece of this, the identity, when you were talking about the, grief and identity, I think linked together is really interesting because when I asked the question of all of my guests, what system failed, identity is one of the top 2 or 3 that comes up.
It is, yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Who am
So
I if I'm not the person I was before? I mean, and at 22, I mean, this happened at 22, like, you had everything in front of you. It's a kind of a different experience. So you've been living with this for a long time.
yeah, and I've had setbacks. I've had other concussions since then. And after you have one, it's so much easier to get another one. And it's like my last one was a couple of years ago. I slipped on some stairs, didn't even hit my head, but I just knew something's not right. Like I did
Yeah.
something.
Yeah. Well,
And
this is something we should actually mention for people because I don't think we've talked. I haven't. This hasn't come up in a while, but there is this weird thing with with concussions that's completely counterintuitive, which is that someone who's gotten a concussion is likelier to get more concussions. Which it's counterintuitive because you would think people who've been through it would be that much more careful and that much more aware of our surroundings, and maybe we are. I walked into a glass door in an office that didn't have, like, any of those stickers to let you know that there was a glass door, and saw stars, full concussion, goose egg, and that was only one of the, I would say, 3 or 4 concussions I've gotten since. So, I've asked clinicians why this is. I don't know if you have a theory about why this is. Do you have one? I've been trying to
I,
figure this.
I've been following like the OBIA things, and they put down statistics,
Wait,
and one of them,
who's the OBIA?
it's the Ontario Brain Injury
Okay,
Association.
okay, alright.
So they put out a stat just the other day that 40% of brain injuries are related to head trauma, like
Mhm,
hitting your head, or
mhm.
sorry, 40% of them are related to slips, trips, and falls. Just
Okay,
those
okay,
three alone. So it doesn't even involve you hitting your head on something. It can be
right.
whiplash
Whiplash.
can cause it. And that was in my case. I whiplashed myself, and because there was already that damage done, it just re-injured so much easier.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, by the way, the clinician answer I got, which could be part of it, is that once you've had one, you are sort of different from a sensory point of view, and we might not be as aware. We might be focusing on other aspects of our sort of sensory discomfort when we're in a situation, and maybe we're missing things. I mean, I don't think anybody knows the answer to this. It's a lot of guesswork, but it's I just always find it interesting because it just goes like smack against what you would think would happen, right? Like
I
we should be the most careful people, and yet we're getting concussions all the time. I know it's great. Had you ever had a concussion before? The
had
one that
one mild, I had a mild one before, and it was just I saw stars like you explained. I was playing hockey and I got hit, and it wasn't the full blown. I wasn't knocked out. I was full, like back then. This is in the 90s, and my coach was like, get back out there and play, blah blah blah. And I'm like, yes, coach, kind of thing. Like the concussions weren't really looked at too well in the 90s.
still true.
So,
It's still
so
true. That's why we're doing podcasts, right? Because it's not taken as seriously as it needs to be.
well, now here with the school system here in Ontario, I believe it's Rowan's law that even if you're presented with concussion symptoms, you have to sit out till a doctor clears you to go back to either regular studies, regular exercise, and that's just the school system. So they really improved on the school system for sports and things like that.
That's great.
Yeah, but unfortunately, it took an unfortunate incident to change the way people looked at
Is that who Rowan? What is that about?
it.
Is
Yeah,
it
I'm pretty sure it's called Rowan's law, and it was a kid named Rowan that I believe he ended up passing away because it was the same thing. He got rocked in the head, and no, go back out there, you're
yeah.
fine,
Yeah.
and you know,
That reminds me of a question I meant to ask you before. I know, then we'll get back to your work. So while you were getting you were seeing, it was a neurologist, right? You were being treated by a neurologist. What was the guidance they gave you? What did they tell
rest,
you to do? Rest?
just
No, did they tell you
rest.
no screens, cognitive rest, that kind of thing?
Yeah, basically, just if you start seeing like flares, like streaks or something, come back because that means we missed something. There might be something more. But
Huh.
basically, yeah, just
Yeah.
rest, take some Tylenol. That's basically
Really?
it.
Tylenol.
Yeah,
Okay, so it's actually in a very small, weird way. I, I I've been thinking this is an American problem because we know that the guidance has changed because there have been trials that have shown that like doing that rest stuff is just frankly doesn't work, and you're better off like getting people to
Oh
re-engage,
yeah,
and the information doesn't seep through. But now it's a Canadian problem too.
it is. Yeah, like now I'm actually on. So since my last one,
Yeah.
now I'm on what they call like a migraine cocktail, which is involving like amitriptyline. Or what? I can't think of
Is
the
that
other two.
I'm
And
trying to
it's
think.
free medic.
Yeah, yeah. So did you have migraine before the head injury or no?
No,
No.
well, I'd have headaches. I'm not to the point where I woke up and it's like I can't get out of bed today. Like this is like it completely ruined my. No, I wouldn't say ruined my life. It made life harder for me because I couldn't work. I was excused from work. So then I was only getting 70% of a pay instead of a full pay. And your bills don't care if you get hurt. They don't
No, they don't.
know.
No, they don't. Okay, now let's get back. I thought sorry for that
Yes.
little sidetrack, but I wanted to make
Oh,
sure.
that's okay.
So the grief. Your practice, right? And this is something you start. It was. Did you join an existing organization or did you build an organization?
I'm building it on the fly.
Okay.
So it started off as one thing and it grew and it grew and it grew till where it is today. I had a meeting with one of the members of parliament for Ontario and they see like they acknowledge, yes, there is a gap here. Like there are services that are available, but one is it's out of pocket. They have to find them. Like they're not offered. So my goal is to make it available, like not out of pocket, like within reason.
Hmm.
And so at least I got, yes, you're right. This is an issue. Now, how can we implement it?
Right.
So my theory is acknowledged. Now comes the work of making how do we get this out there, sort of thing.
Right. And how do you scale that, and how do you make sure people are aware of it? And do people take concussion more seriously now than they did, say, in the 90s? Do you think?
I think it's
Or
more, yeah, I
yeah.
think it's a little more accepted. Like it's a lot more careful because people, ever since all those CTE incidents came out, that like it's been more on the news. People are a lot more worried because you kind of hear, not like football isn't a big thing up here like it is down in the States, but hear people
But
saying,
hockey, you
or
get CTE
hockey.
from hockey.
That's right. Yeah, hockey.
Yeah.
You hear parents, no, I don't want my kid to have brain damage that like when they're 12 kind of thing. Like, so parents are starting to take notice and be more cautious about what their kids do. Um, and like it is taken a little more serious than it was. Coaches have to be informed. They have to take training to recognize the signs and everything else. So it's a step forward.
Right. It's a start. It's better than it was.
It,
There's a lot of
yeah,
work to do, but
there is. Yeah.
yeah, but it is a start. All right, that's cool. Okay, so I'm going to give you. I mean, you. This is. I mean, it's super interesting that you have built a career and a profession based on the experience you had with this difficult, unrelatable condition, right? That isolates us all. And I'm so glad you're doing this work because you're right. There's the medical piece, there's the rehab piece, but then there's the mental health piece, which isn't always given its due, especially if upstream of that, even medicine doesn't necessarily always take concussions as seriously as they should. So I'm I'm grateful to you for doing this work. So now we're going to do the whiteboard part of this conversation. So the system, I invite every guest to basically, it's an imaginary whiteboard. I'm not actually going to yank one out. Well, maybe one day we will. Take whichever system failed you the most. And it sounds like what failed was the availability of like mental health resources for TBI people after rehab. So you may have already solved it, but usually it's like, or it's identity. Like what system failed you and how'd you fix it? Here's the
So,
whiteboard.
the system that failed me is definitely the identity, losing who I was, losing kind of those who I thought I could have been was a big one because everyone dreams about, oh, I'm going to settle down, get married, have kids. Sometimes that changes. So my identity did change because I was stuck in bed. I couldn't do anything. So for me, I lost who I was because I couldn't do anything that I thought I could do or dreamed that I could do. And I could have used help definitely around that to figure out. And this is where I came up with the saying of recovery isn't going back to who you were, is learning to accept who you're becoming.
Yeah,
So
I think
it's a,
I think
it's
that's
a,
right.
it's accepting that change, that something's changed. Like some things are going to, some things are great. They're going to go the same way that you used to be, but there's also going to be changes that you might have to accept.
I think that's right. The way we talk about it in this project is stop comparing yourself to who you are. It's a trap. You
It is a
and
trap.
it's
Yeah.
a, is and we've all fallen into it at some point. That's how we know it's a trap, but it is a trap, and we don't always know who we're becoming.
No, and I think that's a lot of it. Like, not talking about concussions, like stroke victims often are like, I used to be able to do this and they can't now, or some people are in assisted living when they're like, I don't know why, I'm pretty still dependent. It's like, well, no, but now because of this, you're now prone to seizures. Like that there's other, like people just think of concussions as, oh, you got a headache. Oh, you can't go on bright lights. But it opens up so like migraines, seizures, like there's so many other things that open up to you now that people are unaware of.
True, and some of them are. I mean, as you know, I learn from everybody that comes on the show, and everybody's sort of broadening my understanding of TBI symptom, the symptoms, the treatments, the whole thing. And one of the things that's come up is there's data and there's research that links TBIs to sort of non-brain condition. Like I'm just calling them non-brain, which is not obviously not a really great way of describing it. But like there's data that shows that there's a linkage between TBIs and digestive issues, between
Yes,
TBIs and autoimmune issues. But that information isn't out there. It
it's
really
not.
isn't
No,
out.
no,
And there's a massive educational gap, specifically around that area because it is. I mean, I developed a weird autoimmune disease within 30 days of the head injury, and everyone's like, "Well, we can't prove it, but it seems obvious, right?" Apparently, there is data, but it's just not getting out there.
and that seems to be a lot of the issue is TBIs uh, aren't really focused on for some reason.
You have a theory about why?
I honestly don't have a theory why. I guess I guess it's just lower kind of on from heart, stroke, cancer, like kind of
Maybe.
on the totem. I don't know if that's right, but I
I
don't know.
wonder
It's
about this a lot. Yeah, I wonder. I think part of the problem, first of all, somebody has to make the case to pharma, to big pharma, that this is a large underserved market, and if you could develop therapies and therapeutics for this market, it could be extremely profitable, right? Like
oh, it
get
definitely
them
would
where they
be. Yeah,
live, which is, like there's money to be made here. But I wonder if, from a scientific point of view, given the range of symptoms in the different areas of the brain, how little the brain is understood, if this isn't almost seen as just too hard. I
and
don't
that could
know.
be it could be just be one of those things. It's too complex.
Yeah, it is.
There's just so many pieces to the puzzle that once you solve one piece, the next piece disproves it or something like that. And again, concussions are still relatively new. This stuff wasn't talked about 30 years ago. So the science and the studies are constantly changing. Like they just learned about CTE maybe 10, 20 years ago
Yeah,
when they
yeah,
found that.
between 10 and 20, I would say that sounds right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So even that proves like they still don't know. Like
Well, you
they're
know something
still,
really interesting? They still don't know. But I I I talk to my mother about this all the time, and she said that, when she was growing up, concussions were considered serious.
yes.
And, like, they were treated seriously, and they were a big deal, and it's interesting that they went from being treated seriously and as a big deal to, like, "Oh, it's just a concussion." And so I looked it up and did a little research to try to figure out why that is, and apparently one of the reasons is the advent of imaging. When there was no imaging available, you got hit in the head and people thought it could be really, really serious, and again, it could be, but what imaging did was basically because you can't see this damage on imaging unless it's severe, right? Apparently, the damage is in the white matter, But the availability of imaging, and which showed what looked like healthy brains, made everyone think, oh, it's just a concussion because the scans are clear.
Exactly. Yeah,
Which is,
that's a good way to look at it there too. Why? Like
it may not be the only reason, but it's something. It explains something, right?
it
It's
does.
a
Yeah.
weird thing. Okay, final question. Actually, I have two final questions. So I have a pre-final and a final. The final question, the semi-final question. I've been watching a lot of World Cup. Every guest, because you're part of Best Guestistan, and you've known about Best Guestistan for a while because we've been talking on Reddit for quite a while now. And it was really great to meet you, by the way. I mean, you're
Same
the
with
second
you.
Redditor to come on the show, which is super excellent.
Yes.
The world I created for people like us is called Best Guestistan, right? Because everyone's just taking their best guess, and the world as it exists, and you described from your perspective, like really, really well, it isn't really set up for us and what we need in the accommodations and the understanding, right? So that's what this country does. And the government structure is a series of ministries, and there are ministries to basically tackle every issue and just figure things out. So every guest gets a ministry assignment, and I want to know if you will accept this ministry assignment. I have you as the ministry of then what? Because you come after, and the gap that you identified and that you're filling is after the medical, after the rehab. What about the emotional piece, the grief, the identity? Then what?
Exactly. Yeah. And even with my theory, it could go along with the physio and the recovery phase too, because if you're not 100% in the mind, you're not giving your best.
That's true.
So if both could intertwine either during or after, like it's a lot easier if it's after, but depending on the circumstance, it could happen during too. So you do get a better quality, you're more engaged, your spirits might be just that little bit higher to participate more through the therapy, the treatments, the plan as
Right.
well.
So will you accept the position? Does then what sound like the right
Yeah,
ministry
no,
to you?
no, definitely,
Awesome.
yeah.
We will pencil you in. There will be many meetings. Very little will be accomplished. That's the whole point.
All right,
All right, now,
perfect.
my actual final question is, where can people learn more about your work?
They can learn more about my work is from my website. It's healingbeyonddiagnosis.ca.
You never have to apologize for that here. We all go into like, wait, what was I saying? I've lost my train.
Yeah,
So I'm sorry,
and it's a long title. So
which was healingbeyonddiagnosis.ca.
yeah,
Is that it?
is my website for this matter, anyways, for the brain injury and everything else. I also have books out on Amazon. So my first one is, well, it's a healing beyond diagnosis. It's going to be a series kind of. So the first one looks at kind of the same thing. Okay, so it happened. Here's how you kind of guide through like that mourning, that loss of your identity. The second one that just got published, should be released within a couple days, also on Amazon. It's called Invisible Grief, and
Mm,
that's more going through those stages of grief. So like, I want to emphasize that people aren't alone, and they might think they are, but they're not. So I'm writing these books. They're only about 35 pages long, but it's a powerful 35 pages long, rather. So they could pick those up. They could email me at Corey at healingbeyonddiagnosis.ca. I'm always available there as well.
that's great. Okay, thank you so much. First of all, thank you so much for coming and for sharing your insights and your perspective. I mean, you really added a lot to this project and this conversation that we're having. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
Come back again.
Definitely will.